Thank you for coming here today. Thank you to the people who organized this to bring such a wonderful crew tonight. Almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. Yes. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids. They tell us that the pyramids were built in Egypt and Mexico. Wrong. That's just the beginning. They were built on all 6 continents. They tell us that Egyptian pyramids were used as the tombs for pharaohs. Wrong. In the biggest and most superior pyramids, the pharaohs were never buried. They're telling us about the Mexican pyramids, that they were built as the ceremonial centers to sacrifice the enemy. Again, wrong. That was the case only with the most recent Aztec pyramid. In the 21st century, we will need to put the current scientific paradigm behind us. After 200 years of Egyptology, this is what they are telling us. Egyptologists are saying that this was the first pyramid built on Egyptian soil, the famous step pyramid in Saqqara. They are saying it was built by the pharaoh Djoser 4,700 years ago. However, under the pyramid, the network of tunnels was discovered, and the ceramic dishes, and they are dated back to 5,800 years before present, or 1,200 years before the 3rd dynasty pharaoh Djoser, or 800 years before pharaonic Egypt. So who built this pyramid? Then Egyptologists are saying that the pharaoh Sneferu, the last one of the 3rd dynasty, built not 1, but 3 colossal pyramids. They are saying this was the first one, the famous bent pyramid in Dashur. But then Egyptologists are saying he was not happy with this one. So he built another one, a beautiful red pyramid across the bent pyramid. Now, when you enter the red pyramid, the passageways don't have any paintings. The chambers are empty. No mummies, no tools, no hieroglyphic writings, no symbols, not a single proof who really built this pyramid. Now, Egyptologists are saying Pharaoh Sneferu was not happy with the 2nd pyramid, so he built the 3rd one, the step pyramid in Meidum, 100 miles to the south. And again, inside this pyramid, we don't find any proofs who really built it. It seems that the Pharaoh Sneferu was a very hard man to satisfy. The passageways empty, the chambers also. And then Egyptologists are saying the pharaohs of the 4th dynasty, the pharaoh Khufu or Cheops, Khephren, and Myceren, father, son, and grandson, supposedly built 3 most famous pyramids of all on the Giza Plateau. But then again, from the outside, we can see only the stones. No banners stating who really built them. Inside, magnificent passageways, huge chambers with the granite blocks of 80 tons. In Khephren pyramid, 220 tons. But no mummies, no bones, no organic material, no hieroglyphic writings. We don't know who really built those pyramids. But what we do know is that a lot of mathematical, astronomical, and geometrical knowledge has been incorporated in those structures. For example, the Great Pyramid of Egypt has the square base. The length of the sides at the base is 232 meters, or approximately 700 feet. So, when we add two sides, 232 plus 232, 464 meters, and divide by its height of 147, the result is 3.14, which is the number pi. According to the Egyptologists, another 2,000 years after the Pharaoh Khufu, this number will not be known to the humanity. Also, the golden ratio, the number 5, is incorporated into this structure. The distance between our planet and the sun is here. The distance between our planet and the moon is there. The number 299,000, which is the speed of light. And they are telling us that during the pharaonic Egypt, when they had only primitive copper tools and the wooden sticks, they were able to build something that we cannot in the 21st century. 224 pyramids in the former Nubian kingdom, today's northern Sudan. The African continent. We just visited northeastern part, Egypt and Sudan. But the pyramids are built all around the continent. To the north, the islands of Sicily and Sardinia. To the west, on Canary Islands. To the east, on the island of Mauritius. Not a single word about those in our history books, in our encyclopedias, not even on internet. 43 stepstone pyramids on the island of Sicily. We don't know who built them. We do know that we have volcanic stone used, that the cornerstones are nicely shaped on both sides. They are stepped in designs, 4 triangular faces. We go to the other side of Africa, the Canary Islands. The biggest one is Tenerife. On the eastern coast of the island, next to the town of Guimar, there are dozens of pyramids. When you see them, you can see their sides are triangular. There are 4 sides. Design is stepped. Volcanic stone has been used. Cornerstones have been shaped on both sides. The stairways on the western side leads you to the top of the plateau, and during the summer solstice, the sun is rising exactly in the middle of the plateau. So it's obvious its eastern orientation. When I had my lecture at La Laguna University in the city of Tenerife, I asked professors at universities if they visited Guimar pyramids. They said, well, we were in Guimar, but according to the Spanish scientific community, these are not pyramids. These are just pile of rocks made by farmers while they were cleaning the area to plant the agriculture. I told them, of course they are not pile of rocks. I mean, you can see the plan, you can see 4 sides, you can see all these features. They got upset. The problem with academia is their fear. Everything is based on fear. What is the real problem with the Spanish scientific community? 550 years ago, when the Spanish conquerors were sailing to the west, to Central and South America, to conquer all those lands, Canary Islands and Tenerife were first one to be attacked. At that time, on the island, very advanced culture called Guanche lived there. They were building stone cities, stone pyramids, stone temples, irrigation channels. But they did not have military because they had no enemy. They were on the island. The Spanish wiped them off the face of the planet over the next few decades. And today, in order to justify those acts, they are saying, oh, Guanches, they were very primitive, caveman people. So they falsify the history. If you want to say something on the contrary, then you got a problem. So, once I talked to those professors, and when they got upset, they never showed up at my lecture at the university. But 350 students did. They wanted to hear the truth. So when I finished, I got the standing ovation. We go on the other side of the African continent, the island of Mauritius, 3,000 miles away from the African continent, in the middle of the Indian Ocean. According to every book, encyclopedia, this island was not inhabited until the 16th century. And then the white Europeans came from Spain, Portugal, Italy, Holland, UK. Now, today the island is covered by sugar cane fields. They reach 13 feet in height. You go through those dense fields and you can see the stone structures. You climb the top of one of them and you got a beautiful view of the pyramids. 7 of them. 4-sided pyramids, plateau on the top, stepped in design, the same height of the step, the same width of the step. Cornerstones, nicely shaped. The orientation, this eastern side during the summer solstice. And summer solstice on this island is December 21st, because it is on southern hemisphere. The sun is rising exactly in the middle of this flat plateau. So, once me and my wife Sabina, who I called 3-in-1, my love, my partner, and my wife. Where is she? Is she in the back? Or she's smoking? Okay, she's smoking. We did all the measurements. We sent our report to the government of Mauritius. And we suggested them to investigate those pyramids together, because not a single word about them in the history books. Then they sent me an email back. They were saying, Dr. Osmanagich, we don't have pyramids. What you're referring to, they're just a pile of rocks made by local farmers while de-rocking the area in order to plant sugarcane fields hundreds of years ago. Now, what is their problem? Like I said, according to all encyclopedias, this island was not inhabited until the 16th century. Of course, the white Europeans never built pyramids. So who did? In order to answer that question, they would need to change their history. The governments don't like to change the histories. We had a press conference at the island. The next day, the most popular daily called L'Express had a big article about our press conference, laughing at me, saying, oh, this Bosnian wants to reinvent our history, but we know very well that we don't have pyramids. The Mayan civilization built over 10,000 pyramids in what we call today the countries of Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Belize. This one in Tikal, northern Mayan city in province of Petén, in Guatemala, was considered the highest, 300 feet. In the meantime, 6 years ago, another big Mayan city called El Mirador, in the middle of the jungle, was discovered with a pyramid over 340 feet in height. Palenque, one of the most beautiful Mayan cities, in Mexico, in the state of Chiapas. Tens of stone pyramids were uncovered from the jungle, but more than 80% of the city is still covered by soil and the wood. City of Copan in western Honduras is the most artistic Mayan city. This is the biggest pyramid. 1987 and 1989, the archaeologists from Honduras and US were cleaning the walls of the pyramids, removing the roots. And then they discovered that inside the pyramid, 700 years old temple was located. So in this particular case, the pyramid served as the protection for something even more sacred. Now they call this temple Rosalila due to its rose color. The ornaments above the door are showing the symbol for the solar system, the red one, and above the white one, the symbol for the center of the galaxy that Mayans called Hunab Ku. Now, to the left and to the right, to the left and to the right, as we can see behind this handsome guy, we have something that looks like a vehicle with the wheels, body of the vehicle, and the cabin. And inside the cabin, the Mayan face with their characteristic big noses. So we have those two vehicles between the symbols for the solar system and the center of the galaxy. The message is obvious. They somehow travel between our solar system and the center of Milky Way. Really, how did Mayans have such a vast knowledge of astronomy? We got only 5 books left behind them, the famous Mayan codexes. The first one to be deciphered partially was Dresden Codex, 140 years ago. The similar symbolism was in the book, solar system, center of the galaxy, and the number close to 26,000 years. At that time, the scientists had no clue what Mayans were saying. Today we do know, because our knowledge, level of knowledge rose. We know that the Mayans knew that our solar system moves within our galaxy, and it takes almost 25,920 years for one full circle, which, by the way, ends on December 21st of this year. Belize, the tiny Central American country, former British Honduras, had 1,000 Mayan cities, towns, and villages, and every one of them would have several pyramids. Most of them still covered by vegetation, some of them partially reconstructed. The same thing in El Salvador. Only 4 Mayan cities are open for public. This is one of them, San Andres. Pyramids covered by soil and grass. Some of them partially uncovered. The Kukulkan pyramid is the most famous Mayan pyramid in eastern Mexico, Chichen Itza. What we can see today after the reconstruction are the 4 stairways, 91 steps each, 4 times 91, 364. You add platform on the top, 365, which is the number of days in our solar calendar. A lot of astronomical knowledge has been incorporated here as well. The step pyramid, almost the same design, like in Chichen Itza, but this time 8,000 miles to the east. Kokhker pyramid in Cambodia, about 50 miles to the east from the famous Angkor Wat. We continue to the east Korean Peninsula, 3 stepstone pyramids, again, volcanic stone. No. 250 years ago, Dutch sailman landed Tahiti, and they discovered a huge stepstone pyramid with a rectangular base, 85 feet by 260 feet. The pyramids are built on the island of Java, Indonesia. Candi Sukuh pyramid, 4 sides, temple on the top. The Chinese pyramids have been secret for the outside world for the longest time. 1966, the Chinese archaeologists who were investigating them was at the international conference in Japan, and then he said that the pyramids do exist on Chinese soil, and he discovered some clay tablets with hieroglyphic writings, and after he partially deciphered them, he claimed that those pyramids were built over 12,500 years ago. When he went back to China, 1967, they put him in the mental hospital. And nobody heard about him anymore. 1967 is the year of the famous Cultural Revolution in China. So for the next 15 years, whoever claimed something against the mainstream truth would have a problem. The end of 1960s and 1970s, the Chinese government was planting the trees on the top of their pyramids, wanted to hide them from the outside world. Because according to them, the Chinese history is only 5,000 years and advanced Chinese cultures 2,500 years old. According to them, everything started with the Emperor Qin, who built the Great Chinese Wall, the Great Chinese Civilization, and now we have something over 12,000 years. So, only in 1990s, they started cleaning some of the soil from the small pyramids. But even with their efforts to hide the pyramids, we were able to locate all 250 pyramids in the central Chinese province of Shanxi. 20 big ones and 230 small ones. The big ones are really superior because they are built from the granite and sandstone blocks, and the small ones from the mud brick. It seems that they wanted to make a replica of the bigger ones, but they did not have a knowledge or the engineering skills. Interestingly enough, we got the same situation in Egypt. The oldest pyramids are the most superior ones, built from limestone and granite. But also, the Egyptian pharaohs of the 12th and the 18th dynasty, they were building pyramids, but from the mud brick. Today, we can't see those pyramids anymore because they were so inferior. There is a gap between those two civilizations. The first one, over 12,000 years, and the second one, 4,000, 5,000, 3,000 years in the past. I was talking to the leading Chinese archaeologists, and they were telling me, once I asked them why they don't investigate the big ones, they said, we don't have a permit from the Chinese government. And they are telling us that only the next generation of Chinese scientists will be able to investigate those. So the biggest ones are still covered in soil and vegetation. If they are cleaned, we could see 4 sides, triangular faces, plateau on the top, and the perfect orientation to the cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. The South American soil, Bolivia, 13,000 feet above the sea level, next to the lake Titicaca. The Acapena Pyramid Complex, step stone pyramids. For their construction, granite was used. Today, we can see pyramids, we can see just the soil and grass, and those granite blocks laying around. The guy who spent the most time investigating those was a German Bolivian mathematician and archaeologist called Poznański. After 50 years, he concluded that those pyramids were built 17,000 years ago. Now, according to the official history that they served us, our history is only 8,000 years old. According to them, everything started with Sumer, then Babylon, and Akkad, and Assyria, and ancient Egypt, and ancient India. In reality, that's just the last cycle of humanity. Before that one, there was another one. And we are finding the material proofs for those civilizations. When we look at those granite blocks, we can see how they perfectly fit each other. With the laser straight, laser flat surfaces, which we can use today as the instruments. And some of the blocks that are obviously machined. In order to shape granite, which is the hardest material in the nature, you don't use copper tools, as the archaeologists are suggesting us. Copper is inferior to the granite. You cannot use inferior material to shape superior material. Today, we use diamond tools to shape granite. So who had diamond tools, lasers, and machines 17,000 years ago? Southern Peru, the area of Kavachi. 7 years ago, when I first visited the place, which is about 50 miles to the south from the famous Nazca lines, Italian archaeologists told me that they discovered 3-step pyramid. 3 years ago, when I went again, now they are saying there are 34 pyramids. The question is, who built this city of pyramids? Everything they tell us about it is wrong. They call it Sun City. We don't know its real name. They're saying it was built by the Nazca culture. But in reality, culture by that name never existed. There is a modern Nazca town, though. They're telling us that the city was built 1,800 years ago. I asked them if they found any organic material. They said yes. They found the bone that belonged to the female person. And the age of the bone is 4,500 years. So I asked them, how is it possible to find the bone, which is 4,500 years old, in the structure which is only 1,800 years old? Their problem is that the mainstream scientists are saying that advanced cultures in Peru are only 3,000 years old. So it goes beyond what is accepted by the mainstream scientists. So they need to change their history, and they don't like that. We go to the north of this beautiful country, the area of Tukume. 250 pyramids. They are all built from adobe bricks. If you remove a little bit of this desert dust, you will find the walls. Millions of adobe bricks. Now, on all pyramids, including the biggest one, the Pyramid of the Sun, we can see the vertical erosion. Obviously, the erosion is there due to the fact that the pyramids were exposed to the storms and rains for a very long time. Officially, they are saying those pyramids are about 1800 years old. But the climate in this area has been the same for 7,000 years. Dry desert, no rains. So when did we have those rains? 7,000, 8,000, 12,000, 55,000 years ago? And when the pyramids were built. This is the biggest pyramid on the South American soil. It's called Huaca del Sol, the Pyramid of the Sun. 140 millions of the adobe bricks are used to build this structure. But that's just 1/3 of the original size. In the 1520s, when the Spanish conquerors were coming to this area, they faced this colossal structure. Of course, their only goal was to get inside and find some treasures. So what they did, they moved the nearby river, Moche, to the pyramids. And the water removed about 2/3 of the structure. But even what we have today is impressive. Its base is equivalent to 6 football stadiums. Now, across this one is another one, Huaca de la Luna, the Pyramid of the Moon. Another 150 millions of tons of bricks, 300 millions. According to the archaeologists, it took 30,000 people 300 years to build this complex. And we have 2 problems there. The first one, for 3,000 people, you would need to have a city of 100,000 people so they can build those pyramids. And in the area, only 2 houses were unearthed from the ancient times. And the second problem, even if they found those cities, why would somebody start building a complex that would take 300 years? And the grandchildren